Hi, and welcome to Youth Xpress, a program produced by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, highlighting issues that affect and matter to the young people of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. As we continue to discuss the issue of young people in government, it is clear that for the youth to participate in politics in a meaningful way, they require, among other things, exposure to opportunities and an enabling environment with relevant programs and policies. Youth parliaments are useful civic education exercises for raising awareness about the functions and procedures of government and help to shape young leaders. Our guest on this episode is positioning herself and developing her leadership skills as Speaker of the Montserrat National Youth Parliament. We will meet Shanique Hoyte after this break.
Celebrating ECCB at 40.
Did you know that the agreement establishing the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank was signed on July 5, 1983 in Trinidad and Tobago by 7 member states? Now you know, celebrating ECCB at 40.
Welcome back. This is Youth Xpress. Shanique Hoyte is a vibrant young woman from St. Vincent and the Grenadines whose professional skills in the tourism and hospitality industry took her to Montserrat. She's always had an interest in politics, but never got the opportunity to become actively engaged until a year ago when she was sworn in as Speaker of the Montserrat National Youth Parliament.
I intend to ensure the orderly flow of business. I will ensure the Montserrat Youth Parliament observes parliamentary rules and traditions, both written and unwritten. It will be my duty to interpret these rules impartially and to defend the rights and privileges of members, including the constitutional right to freedom of speech. I will preserve the trust of the House to keep my actions impartial. Consequently, I will work to balance the rights of the government to transact business in an orderly manner and the rights of all members to be heard in debate. Thank you.
Shanique Hoyte, welcome to Youth Xpress.
Thank you very much, Shannon. It's a pleasure to be here.
A pleasure to have you. Now, you have always had an interest in politics as far as I've read about you. Tell us all about that.
It kind of began when I was like 11 and I had to prepare an essay. I remember I was preparing for common entrance and one of our exercises was to do an essay where we were debating. And when I was finished writing my essay and I was presenting it to my parents first, my dad at the time, he was like, "You song, it's so powerful. Like you sound like you could be like the first female prime minister." But that was of St. Vincent because I'm originally from St. Vincent. And, you kind of feel really good about yourself. I was like impressed with myself. And I was like, maybe I can be the first female prime minister. And eventually, after graduating from secondary school, I decided to pursue law. And with that, the interest was piqued again. So after 11, I didn't give it much thought. But then after doing law, I was like, I could really pursue this thing. And then after graduation from community college, I actually started working in hospitality, where I developed a love for that. And then in Montserrat, I was given this opportunity to join the youth parliament. And I was like, God, I see what you're doing here. You keep bringing politics back into my life, no matter how I try to get away or how much I think that interest has waned. And now I'm back in it in some respects, where I am the Speaker of the Youth Parliament here in Montserrat. And everywhere I've worked in Montserrat was a law-related field. So now I actually work at the Land Registry Division at our Ministry of Agriculture, Lands, Housing and the Environment, where I deal with all of the legislature as it relates to land matters. So now politics is back on the table. I have worked along in many ways with the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Montserrat, and I have been developing my skills, and politics is definitely something that is back on the table, as well as pursuing law, my bachelor's of law, getting that out of the way as well.
Describe for us what it is like working in the National Youth Parliament.
In Montserrat, working in the National Youth Parliament, it comes with a lot of challenges, mainly because our youth parliaments, we involved with its youth from as young as 14 years old. Apart from keeping ourselves focused as the older ones in the youth parliaments, we also have to ensure that we keep the younger ones engaged and interested. And we debate a range of topics.
Madam Speaker, I would like to start by reiterating to the government that we, the opposition, are not against the principle or concept of remote work, but we are simply highlighting all of the reasons why we cannot support this bill as it is. Yes, the idea of remote work is nice. And yes, Madam Speaker, as the Honourable Member Eldridge stated, no bill is ever perfect when first presented in Parliament. But this bill is detrimentally flawed on multiple levels.
Going into the next 20, 30, 40 years, we're going to be the ones, the driving force behind our country's policies and everything surrounding that. So I want young people to always keep that in mind, where you might feel like, oh, I'm too young to make a difference, or I'm too young for my opinion to matter. It matters now, because in 30 years, whatever you've put in is whatever you're going to see at the end. And so that's mainly what the experience has been like. It's been a lot about trying to encourage younger people to have more of an active interest in politics and play a role however they can.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the challenges you face in getting this done?
Persuading my peers and younger persons that they can make a difference, and to keep them interested, because they might feel like, I'm not sure how this relates to me or that relates to me. Some of the other challenges that we face as well, some older persons might think, oh, they're too young to fully understand what is it that they'll need. We live in a digital era, and we have all this information at our fingertips. And young people are very informed. Whether or not they are aware of it, they're very informed. And politics is more than just, oh, going and sitting in Parliament, or who you're voting for. Politics is the clothes on your back. It's the school that you attend. It's your churches. Everything is political. And the problem is getting young people to fully understand that. And also to getting older folks to understand that young people do have valuable contributions to make.
What are some of the specific issues pertaining to young people that you are really passionate about?
It's more of the humanitarian issues that resonate with me the most. Cybersecurity, for one. Every young person that I know, they own a device that gives them access to the internet world, the cyber world. And we need to do more to protect younger people. Of course, a lot of young persons are going to make mistakes. I've seen instances where people post something, share something, and it's had negative effects. And that's one of the things that I think we are very vulnerable to as young people. It's remembering that cyberspace, nothing really ever disappears. You can tweet something now and delete it. and 10 seconds ago, someone else has screenshotted that, and it's still out there. And I don't think we're aware enough. And so we need a lot of more education and guidance, and also protection when it comes to the way that we use the digital world and the way we engage in it. And that's one of the main issues for me. That's one of the things I'm most passionate about. Also, what I'm passionate about as it relates to young people is equality, gender equality sometimes. And most times it's difficult explaining, especially to males, that gender equality benefits you too. It just doesn't benefit women or females, as a lot of people tend to think. There's this misconception globally, and especially in the Caribbean, where we're not used to questioning gender roles and such. And so that's another thing that I would like to achieve. I like to engage more males, especially around my age group, younger, and have them understand that gender equality is beneficial to both males and females. And that's why it's called equality. That's the word that we look for. Look at here, equality. It's me, it's you, it's everyone. It doesn't matter what you identify as, it's your gender, it's gender equality.
How would you say that your involvement in the National Youth Parliament is preparing you to serve at a higher level?
Well, it's preparing me as it's making me more aware that now so many eyes are on me. Like I am, like attention is on me, whether or not I want to acknowledge that, it's a reality. And I also need to remember that, of course, when I get there, get wherever I'm going to remain grounded and humble. And it's preparing me for that the most.
Is it giving you a better understanding about the role and functions of government?
It definitely is. Last November, I was able to participate in the CYP 11 debates in Trinidad and Tobago. And it was an extensive process of understanding the processes behind debating, and to actually being on the stand and debating your topics, the way a bill is broken down, the way you can break down the legislature, in a bill when it's presented to you, and the way you can debate it from either side, whether it's government or opposition. So now, yes, I've learned a lot about policymaking and debating.
And as we wrap up, for young people who are in doubt as to whether their participation in politics will make a difference, what would you use this platform to say to them?
Your participation does make a difference. It does. And you need to know where you want to take your country in the next 40 years. Young people have this way of complaining about what the older folks can do better, or how this can be done. And, a lot of younger folks, because you're so into entertainment, like, oh, there's enough to do in my country. I'm from a small Caribbean country. We don't have much when it comes to entertainment. Like, you can be that change. You can be that change, and it starts right now. For sports, a lot of athletes around my age, whether in Montserrat or other Caribbean countries, they might feel like, I'm interested in athletics, and it isn't given much, it's not given much of a platform as these other things like being lawyers and stuff. And it starts with you. It all starts with you. You have to bring that home. And in 20 years, it might not be you, but maybe your children, maybe your grandchildren. And it starts with you. And that's what's important. And that's the key word. It starts with you.
All right, Shanique, thank you very much for chatting with us on Youth Xpress. And we certainly wish you all the best and hope to hear about you in the future in politics.
Thank you very much, Shanna. I appreciate it.
That's it for this episode of Youth Xpress. We trust that the conversations with the various young people in government featured in this series will serve to inspire you to become actively involved in your country's development agenda. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.